and welcome to CNBC-TV18 and Kantar Brand Z C-Suite panel. I'm Shubhani Gharat. The panel is themed Building Valuable Brands in VUCA 2.0 World. As we contemplate what post-pandemic world might look like, in certain areas it is clear that volatility, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity is going to be vast. So how do businesses create winning strategies and valuable brands during these complex times? To tell us more today on the panel, we have Sujit Ganguly, Head Brands and Communication, ICICI Bank, Sukleen Aneja, CEO, FMCG and Beauty Brands, The Good Glam Group. We have Kumar Gaurav Singh, Vice President, Marketing, Whirlpool, India, Dipinder Rana, Executive MD, South Asia, Insights Division, Kantar, Tim Kelsall, Chief Operating Officer, Global Client Practice and Chief Client Officer, APAC, Kantar. And then we have Siddharth Shakdar, EVP, Disney Plus Hotstar. All of you, welcome to this panel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rana, let's begin this conversation with you. VUCA is a term that we have been hearing for such a long time, and now we are speaking about VUCA 2.0. So what has really changed from the first time we heard the term VUCA to this VUCA 2.0, and how is the complexity of this particular, the times that we live in different from then, and what could be the learnings from there?
Right. I mean, so that VUCA was primarily driven by digital transformation, which I think has continued and accelerated. But in some ways, businesses are getting and consumers are getting to terms with it, right? So there's kind of less uncertainty there. But then you have added elements of uncertainty, which is, nobody saw the pandemic coming. I think Bill Gates did, but nobody else did.
Nobody saw the war coming.
Yeah, nobody saw the war coming, and then inflation, which I think Indians are used to inflation. There have been periodic bouts of inflation in India in the past. But for much of the Western world, it's a completely new phenomenon. So lots of headwinds, and I think as marketers, as brand builders, just more variables to deal with.
Okay. Over to you, Sukleen. What are the biggest challenges and opportunities, in this VUCA 2.0?
I think I'll break the answer into two parts. First, I'd speak of the biggest opportunity that lies ahead. The opportunity is in forging partnerships, collaborations and creating an ecosystem that can allow you to ensure that your business survives. And I think perhaps our greatest challenge is the fact that there's so many new issues that you're confronted with, which are absolutely new, not for yourself, but for the world. So how do you stay agile and nimble-footed in solving for it? And also be comfortable in the fact that you may not have all the answers. The biggest opportunity that perhaps lies is in the kind of ecosystems and partnerships that today businesses need to create and collaborate with. Because one of the things which I think all businesses have relied on is that there is, number one, an extreme merit in having internal sourcing and dependence of suppliers, of continuity within your country. So that at no point of time should the disruption affect business continuity. That I think has been one big learning for businesses. Second, I would say, is also with respect to the way we reach out to our consumers. Newer models had to be explored. A lot of the conventional world in the way we operated businesses has also gone through change. And I think agility has really been tested in times like these. So personal agility is business agilities, and has created an environment where everyone has to be open to collaborations. Because fundamentally it's the ecosystems and the partnerships that you're forging internally and externally that's actually going to help businesses survive. And that is where the question of survival comes in.
Yeah. And over the past 2 years also, Sukleen, you are someone who has changed organizations from a classic FMCG company to like a fairly new player, in the Indian market. So how do they approach, like times like this, and what is the difference, that you saw as a leader?
I think generally if you look at the environment in which you operate in large companies, you're very insulated to a large level, right? Because the organizations are extremely strong. There is a lot of stability that exists in companies which have been built with over a 100-year heritage, right? Younger companies are a lot more nimble. And I think the biggest change that you see in environments like these is how important is survival, how important is agility. And you're not as insulated because you are actually absolutely out there, right? And you experience business like you would if you really started afresh. It's truly the founder's mentality that gets tested.
Sujit, what about you? How has, marketing a bank shifted or changed from the pre-pandemic world to now?
So
Because,
we-
over the past 2 years, also the interest in everything, money matters, has also increased. Like
Increased
everyone
sharply.
is really tuned in,
Yes.
everyone is really interested where to put in the money, where to stay invested, and all of these things have really shifted in the
have
past
shifted
2 years.
a lot, right. So two things that we have seen or we have done post the pandemic. A is that the convenience of digital. We were anyway a digital first bank, but we have upped the ante significantly post the pandemic, and we have seen the rewards because customers are saying that I should be able to do or get my service wherever I am, irrespective of the location. And what we have seen is that when we have launched new services and new products on the digital, the uptake has been very high across geographies, across town classes, across types of customers. So that is something, I mean, anyway, we were on the digital curve as a country, we were going up, but I think it's got severely accelerated post the pandemic. That's one. Second thing that we have done for us, which has worked very well, is that what we have said is if we meet a customer, and as a bank, we can service a lot of needs for the customer. What we have said is this concept of 360-degree banking. If you meet any person from the bank, that person, he or she, will provide you all the services. It's a one-point contact. That is working beautifully for us as a bank because you don't need to go and meet different people across the bank. I think that's striking a chord because people are saying that time is precious. Don't make me go and meet different people. One person should take care of all my needs. It could be very diverse, from an account to a loan to a card to a business need or whatever. So those are things that have really worked for us in the last 2 years.
And Kumar, over to you. How, let's say, how have the priorities for an organization or a brand shifted, during these complex, turbulent times?
And I think that's a large part of the mental model that goes into thinking about how we redesign products and how we redesign our brand experience in a language that is relevant for today because there are so many more players out there who can reinvent themselves at the drop of a hat.
And how about dealing with the entire supply chain issues? Also, for a company like Whirlpool, let's say there used to be like, those key seasons like the summers, like, the festive season where consumers would go ahead and buy your product. So has that shifted, changed, and how are you dealing with that?
I think supply chain, for sure there were some hiccups that did happen during the lockdown stages. I would say now mostly they're behind us. I think the semiconductor shortages that we seem to hear a lot about is possibly a lot more with the auto industry than the durables. Having said which, yes, 2 summers were washed away in the last 2 years. We're all expecting to see a good festive sales coming up around the corner. So all fingers crossed to see that.
Okay, great. Siddharth, over to you. What are the biggest challenges faced by OTT brands today and how do you overcome those?
So some of the biggest challenges we face is the world today is far more cluttered than it used to be, right? And so earlier consumers could connect with a brand if the brand was fulfilling them from a transactional benefits point of view. But now, in addition to all the clutter, there's also consumers are changing and their identity is becoming even more important for them. So what am I? What do I stand for? These questions are far more important in the consumer's mind than they were yesterday. And if you've got to break out through the clutter, entertainment is a person's window to the world. It's their idea of exploring their identity. Also comes through entertainment.
Yeah, and how do you do that? Because, entertainment could be vast. Like if, like I have a Hotstar, on my TV and on my phone.
Thank you.
And, I watch football on it, I watch cricket on it, I watch series on it, I watch movies on it. So how do you, have that identity connect with the consumer?
That's a really good question, actually a very tough one to answer, but I think 2 or 3 things that one could do to understand this, right? So there are regular marketing tools through which you can understand this, psychographics, etc., through which you can understand consumers. But more than that, I don't think brands sometimes make the mistake of thinking it's a snapshot. And so you understand once, and then these are the personas that I'm going to chase, and these are the personas that I'm going to communicate with. But I think what we miss out is the fact that identities evolve. So you've got to kind of consistently keep in touch and keep understanding how your consumers think, feel, and behave.